Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Wargaming. I'm your host, Dom Maidlow, and I'm here with two of Team England players. We have Nassim and we have Coach Jack.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, Dom.
No worries, no worries. Well, this is a special episode for me because a few weeks ago we had the WTC Team Championship, and I was following it the entire way, watching War Games live, trying to catch all of the England players in the back, and then finally when you guys were on stream, I had the honor of watching and seeing all of this amazing gameplay. So, for those of you that don't know, the WTC is the World Team Championship, where you have the best players from each country come together, making a dream team, and they're full of friends and coaches that kind of support and help your team kind of form this I don't know, very well-rounded force that goes to these events. Now it's 7 rounds, and you basically have to win as much as you can. And it's like, for those of you that are UK, watching from the UK, those of you watching from the US, you probably follow, if you're the US, you probably follow the Art of War guys like John Lennon or all of that at events. But us UK players, we watch Manny, we watch Nassim, we watch everyone. So it's great because you get to follow these players that you follow all year round, and you get to watch them. And then especially when you've got a live stream like War Games Live, you can follow it. So how are we going to start this? So Nassim, what did you take to the team championship?
I took my boys in gold, you know, the Death Watch, as you do. It was good to play Marines after having not played them for, I think it was just over, really. Yes, I took the Death Watch over for the team representing the Space Marines, Team England.
Nice. No, it's I've played you with your Space Marines before, and you're very vicious with them, and you know how to play them. And Jack, you are a coach. Can you tell everyone what it is you do, and why did you fly out there?
I got the train out there. I got the train out there. Nassim flew out there because 5 days before the event, he goes, "Oh, how are you guys getting there? You getting the train?" And then there was no train tickets left. It was like 200 quid, 300 quid. So
300 quid.
Yeah. So he flew. The things a coach do. So in the England setup, the coaches were first before the event responsible for helping test this with some of the players. So we kept everything in house. There's a number of countries that collaborated with other countries, but we didn't really go to tournaments. I think, Nassim, you went to a couple tournaments running different lists to try and like throw people off. He was running GSC. Also, you went to ATC with them as well. But we kept everything in house. So we had the 8 players and we had around 7 coaches. So we really had to test everything between ourselves and a couple of select other people that we could trust. So the coaches this year were responsible a lot for testing before the event. And then during the event, you have stuff like what we call running a line, which you spoke with Josh about on a previous episode, where you're going up and down, trying to find out how the game states are, trying to communicate the points to the players, how the game's looking, whether they should need to push anything, push differentials, which was, especially in the pod, we were trying to push differentials. If you're going to try to get 13, we need 15 points because we want to, if it comes down to a tie break later in the tournament, we want to have the most points scored. Also getting stuff like for the players like water and stuff. Belgium in the summer is super hot, and when you're in an aircraft hangar, you've got 280 players plus support staff. There's a good 400 max people in there in half an aircraft hangar. They get hungry, they get thirsty. You need to go and get them stuff. You need to go and get them refs. You need to try and limit all of their brain power needs to be put into the game, and you're trying to take everything away from the game and put it into your hands, you know. So whatever they need, they don't have to walk away from the table, you know. The only thing you can't do is go to the toilet for them, but everything else you've got, you can take care for them, right? So that they can concentrate on their game and concentrate on what they have to do, because it's long days. They're 4-hour rounds. You end up playing the game for about 3 hours after pairings and stuff, maybe 3.5 hours. You're trying to keep them focused throughout and trying to take care of everything on the side, basically.
Yeah.
And if I can just interject, I don't think like Team England's performance would have been as good as it was if it wasn't for the support staff. Like everybody, like Jack, Tom, what's it called, like Chewy, like everybody that was part of the support team did an amazing job. And like I genuinely think that without them, we wouldn't have like done as well as we done this year, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think the support staff is definitely like people think like our coaches, like maybe friends, people who go and support everyone. You know, it's really the players that are team. It's not, you're all together. You all support each other. Like if you get tunnel vision and you just cannot see a way out of something, taking a step back, having someone come up to you and be like, you know, it's all right. We only need you to get these amount of points. Then you change your mindset, back you in the game. And we like I've had the experience with Jack as well when we were at the ITT in February, and he was so key to keeping some of our players like on track, and then coming up to me and being like, look, we need you to get 70 points here. You took the rough matchup, but you know we get it. And then sometimes having a little push is always what we need. So you know, I love coaches. I think they're great. So Jack, how did you actually find the coaching?
I think get into it, we had a lot of support staff. So actually trying to delegate all the tasks between us, you find that after the round starts, you're not doing a major amount, but having mostly the involvement in like testing and stuff and going up to like training weekends and stuff before the WTC was really, really cool. It was really good bonding experience with the team as well, because there's a lot of players that you see at singles events and you don't really get that time to socialize with people. But when you're training and you're sitting there in a house playing, you know, a few games a day and stuff like that, and you're getting takeaways, people are having drinks and stuff like that, and you're trying to test every single list. You're trying to roll dice. Just sometimes you're sitting there going, "Oh, I think this unit can kill this unit." You're just rolling dice at each other. You're not even got units. You're just fighting. You're just trying to do maths checks and stuff like that. Just trying to get all these things. Just getting that bonding together. That's really cool. I think away from the actual game state. But during the game and stuff is just, I think we had such a good chemistry within the team and the coaches that it just becomes super easy coaching, and you can kind of read players. You kind of know, I know when to like approach Nassim to be like, can you give me a score prediction or can you do this? Because he's in a zone, he's doing like everything at a million miles an hour, you know, and you know other players that they need to be like talked to differently. You try and get the temperaments of them. And I actually found all that like learning people and like getting to know everyone on the team as well super cool. Like
yeah, I can totally dig it. So the team was consisted of Alex Harrison, Chris Cannonair, Josh Roberts, Manny, Matt Robertson, Mike Porter, Nassim, and Vic. So who wants to tell me why these players were selected?
Oh man, I guess if like where I come in a little bit, it's like it's quite tough, at least from our perspective, because like me and Jack are not part of the selection committee. It's like I was our first few days, so we're not 100% sure of all of what's going on in the background. Um, but I've got a feeling, at least I want to speak for myself, and I maybe speak a little bit for Vic, and like and Chris as well. It's like I know that Team England, after last year's performance, wanted new blood onto the team. Um, I think, don't quote me on it, but I believe like they were nervous on taking 3 new people, like because they're playing at those levels, because everybody that you're playing against is just as good as you. It's like there was like no one in that room where I felt like I'm better than them. It's like this just come down to the pairing, just come down to the mission, just come down to like
Yeah,
bit differences. And it's like every single time I thought, oh, I hope they don't do that. Every single player did it. I was like, it's like you're playing against just as good people, like people that are just as good as you. And I think, but when you bring on that much new blood, um, I know they wanted new blood, to definitely have a change of pace. Vic was doing really well. Once had won a few majors, doing really well consistently with various different armies. I was doing really well. Various different armies, just like consistently. Like the whole reason I started playing Tau is because Team England were like, "Can you play anything about Space Marines?" And I was like, "Watch this." Um, um, that's a god honest truth of how I started Tau. Um, and I know Chris was also doing quite well at the events that he was going to. So it was like there was that consistency. And that was definitely like above the old guard. Like Josh always historically has done well like at the WTC. Harrison last year was the team's top scorer. Manny, one of the best players that's currently in the world, and if not probably the best player in the UK. And just a range of others. So like everyone had their role in the team. So I believe at least the thinking for why they had selected us, because it was definitely like tough, like for the final few, because we didn't know who was going to be like the final few that was going to join. And there might be a shake up next year as well. Like there's no guarantee that I might make it back on a team, or a few others might make it back on a team. So like there's all to play for. But on the specifics, like at least that's from my perspective. On the specifics, probably better to approach someone like Josh or like Chewy on it, who have done this for multiple years. Anyway, that's just my perspective on it.
Jack, what do you think?
I think so. The team was selected before the playing 8 was selected before I joined the team, but I think there was a good mix of old and new in this team this year. Obviously, Josh is the captain, but you have older head like with him. So you have Chewy as the co-captain, but as a coach, you have Matt Robertson, who's played a number of different ETCs before the WTC and stuff. James Ramsey going onto the coaching staff as well, has been a player in the past for the team. You've got obviously Harrison, top scorer last year for England. Manny's been to a number of ETCs, WTCs, and then you got Nassim, Vic, and Chris come in, and it's their first WTC, but they're all renowned players. Yeah, exactly. And we've played against Chris and Manny and played with them at home nations or ITT, so they've got teams experience already. But we did go in just thinking, you guys are new to WTC. It's a different pressure, right? Nassim's, I'm sure, used to just killing games in singles and stuff like that, and suddenly you're going against top players 7 times in a row, not just like a couple times when you get to round 4 and 5 of major and stuff like that, maybe 3, really 4, 5. But you're playing it every single round. These are the best players of the country. How are they going to manage that pressure and stuff? And I think, but all 3 of them did really smashed it, and they also smashed their preparation as well. Like they put in like 110% into the amount of reps that they were getting before the tournament, and I think they showed that injection of new blood was good. I think because they just brought, I think a lot of the people that were there last year thought that they wasn't prepared for it last year after COVID and stuff like that. They went in and their matrices were all wrong. They didn't have enough reps into certain armies and stuff. And then these guys have come in and they've gone, okay, we'll take a chance on a few new guys that are obviously really good players in the singles format. And they've smashed it with the testing and stuff, and they smashed it and they got to the tournament as well. And they handled the pressure ultimately.
Yeah. So Nassim, Jack said something like, because you're playing, like when you go to like a super major, maybe you finally get to the final rounds, maybe you have a bump on the way there where you kind of play someone who's a similar caliber player to you. But at WTC, it must be absolutely knackering playing such a high level of 40k for like every single game of a 7-round event.
Yeah, it's not easy. Just that's just that. It's as simple as that, really. It's like there's no way to sugarcoat it. Like you really have it. I think for me, WTC was definitely after like the first, like just during pod, was just a very humbling experience. It's like I already knew going into it. I was like, no, I'm gonna give my opponents, respect, all that stuff. But like in my head, I was like, it's fine. Like I'll beat them and whatever. But like even after round 1, when like I had beaten my first opponent by like a decent margin, there were times where that could have flipped the other way around, and I was just like, oh my god, this is real. Like this is like I'm playing like top tables of a super major. It is like every single person that like he knows all of my tricks. I know all of his tricks. He knows exactly what to do to maximize points. He knows his role, and it's safe to say that I learned so much from the players that I just played against.
Yeah.
Just even just in the pod stage before we even left the pod. That I'm now incorporating now, and just so much stuff that I've just learned from speaking to people from different countries. Because people will probably think, oh, like they're from this country, it's whatever, they'll smash them. It's like, no, like that person I'm willing to bet my money on is better than 90% of the 95% of people that I've played against from the UK.
Well, that's why they're there, aren't they? They've been chosen because they're best in country.
Yeah, it's like the top zero, like the top 1% of that person's country is still going to be better than the 90% of that's 95% of the other person's country. Like it's just how statistics works. Like you just can't walk into it assuming that you're going to be better than whoever you're playing against. It's just not the case, and that's just a recipe for failure. You can walk in thinking you definitely have a stronger army for playing Eldar or GSC. That's a different story. But yeah, just to go back to your question, like it was like tiring. Like my game v Sean Aiden, for example, probably one of the best games of 40k I've ever had in my life. Closest I've ever come to clocking out. I had like a minute something left on my clock, and we both started with like two something plus hours each.
Jeez, that's long.
Yeah, and this is coming from someone who's finished his game in like 25 minutes, 30 minutes. It's like I use but like I was just so focused. I was just like I think at one point like was it good Chewy came over and I was just like, just please, like to one side, like I'm like right now nothing but me, my opponent, and the table currently exists. Like it is like really draining. It's mentally draining. I think Jack told me after the game. I was just like after I was done, I was like, oh my god, I just need some water, need some food, and like I was just like in a daze for like 20 minutes. I went outside, just get some fresh air. It is like mentally taxing. It's not easy.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I totally get it. Especially just the caliber of players must be absolutely exhausting because you're having to really be tuned on because there's a reason they're playing the army and it's a reason why they've been chosen. So let's go through the armies then. So I'm gonna throw one to each of you and we'll just go through the list of Team England. And all I want is just like why you think that army was chosen and then why you think that player was playing them. So Jack, I'll start with you. So Thousand Suns with Vic. Why that army build and why the player with that paired to the army?
I think there's a lot of questions about whether Vic should be on Eldar or not. But as Eldar being the smash list of 10th so far, I think we put it in Manny's hands early as he's a player that's used to being able to push differentials when asked. He's a guy that can go, I'm due to get 15 points out of this matchup. I'm going to go and get 18 plus. And you tell him to do that and he will do that. And Vic's a very technical player. And that's not saying that he can't push the differentials because he's a really good teams player. But that army is so technical and it relies on player skill to use effectively. Like the army has a 53% win ratio, but if you put it in the hands of people like Vic, they generally will have an 80 plus win ratio. I think a lot of people struggle to use it, and that's why the win ratio is quite half and half, because it leverages player skill, and he says it leverages player skill, and there's a lot of tricks in that index, in that codex, that he's found in there. A lot of other countries didn't find as well, that and it suits his play style of being able to problem solve on the go. And with that army, there's never one binary play style on it. It's constantly, you've got 10 decisions to make every single turn that you can potentially do, and that suits his play style to a T, I think. I think that's fair to say, and I think he'll agree that he enjoyed it because it leverages that player skill and it leverages his ability as a top player to use.
Yeah, I think the list is really cool as well. It's nice to see Zangwa and Lighten finally back in.
It's a great counter to Eldar as well. We found that early and we wanted to keep it a secret. There was a chance, I think, round 1 into Bulgaria, we had a chance to go. We could throw Vic to become the bus and to take Eldar. But then we realized that a lot of the other top countries would have seen, okay, if we can beat Eldar with Thousand Suns early on, round 1, all the other countries aren't going to put it into us. And it ended up being that we got it in round 4 and Austria gave us Eldar and we managed to beat them. Yeah. Because no one realized that actually we've teched this specifically to beat Eldar and to counter and to get a small loss into GSC with the rhinos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like it.
It's specifically for that, and he designed that for that reason. It was really, really effective in the end.
No, it's very good, especially the precision on the bows. It's very cool. Cool. Nassim, I'm not going to say why have they chosen you, so let's give you someone else. Let's go on. Alex Harrison with Astra Militarum. You've played Astra Militarum before. Yes. That's where your meme came from on War Games Live. So go on. Why that archetype of army, and why Harrison to pilot?
Okay, so In regard to the archetype of the army first. So traditionally, just in regardless of whichever edition it's been, indirect, regardless of whichever form, taking on mass that is efficient, has always been oppressive, and it always solved a role in matchups, and especially in pairing. It's very, very, very powerful in pairing because not many teams want to play against that, and some teams need to take a massive risk against it. And if the risk goes wrong, they score 0 points. And if the risk goes right, like they can score heavily against it. But it's a very, very strong list in pairings. Like I know when I spoke to some of the US boys, for example, no one wanted to play against it, and I don't blame them. Like I know what's it called? Deathwatch didn't want to play against it at all. That's terrible. Costos don't want to play against it either. It's all free damage, and you're not going anywhere. Thousand Sons gets indirected. It's like, all right, I'm gonna pop these 2 rhinos and the contents inside them.
And then everything.
Yeah,
can't
like,
win. Can't win.
Yeah, that's terrible. So it's just
3 Earthshakers, 2 Manticores, and Medusas.
3 Manticores. It's
3 Manticores.
It's actually 3 Manticores. He just didn't lay it out properly.
Of course.
So yeah, it's the typical Alex. But so like he has all of the artillery. Like he has 9 artillery pieces. If generally, like we made it a meme, like Alex was like, if I go first, and we took a little bit of the Mickey out of it. But it's like generally, if some people go second against that list, you're not getting to the midboard.
It's a swinging matrix army, I think.
Yeah,
because of that. Yeah.
But it's so powerful. It's like
so powerful.
Like it has the pressure to just move up the Sentinels, control objectives. At least he's like, oh, you're not going to come down on these objectives.
Yep.
I'm going to artillery every single turn. I'm going to take assassinate and deploy teleport homers. I'm going to score 20 on assassinate. I'm going to realistically beat you on primary because I'm just standing on all the objectives, so you can't drop within 3. And like my Overwatch hurts because I've got flamers everywhere, and you can't hide from me. And I've got artillery with blast weapons. Like you're going to take a pounding. It hurts.
It's a bit.
Yeah. And Alex for it because I believe like outside of myself when I was playing Marines, doesn't really anybody else who really put as much time into the guard compared to Alex. Like he understood some of the matchups better than some of other people on the team. Of course, like there's always more that we could do like as a team, like with myself in regard to the Marines, Alex in regard to the Ultras, the Astra, etc. But he was the person who essentially had put in the most time and effort into it, and he also had a lot of the pieces necessary for it. So he just understood what he had to do in each matchup more compared to the rest of the team, and it was just like a list that would suit him. It's like here's all this artillery, can put you forward. And Alex is a person that's going to scrap for points. It's just what he does. It's like, so instead of him going for a massive win, he's going to scrap for points with the guard artillery if something goes wrong. Like, and that proved when we played Beast France, the Eldar, when second Beast Eldar with a Wraith Knight and still got a 10-10. Like he scrapped for those points.
I totally get it. So yeah, thanks for that. So Jack, Chris Cannonier with his Chaos Space Marines.
Ooh. Chris, if you've been following the last years, generally been smashing the Necrons. Like he's been really solid on Necrons at the end of 9th. And Chris was testing the Necrons, and that was an army that we looked at. We looked at the Lich Guard blobs and stuff like that other armies, other countries took in the end. But then he found the Obliterators and the Forge Fiends and Abaddon, and then just loved the tech pieces with that. And you, Dom, have now just come off playing CSM at your first tournament, and you love it, right? I think there's a lot of people that don't really know how the army works and stuff like that to face against it, because it's not that common. I think it's severely underrated as an army as well. I think it can deal a lot of damage that people not expecting. And Chris, it was one of the armies Chris tested, and he loved it. He shared his opinion with us on that list, and we had numerous TTS games that he was playing. Like most nights he was on TTS running that list against everyone else, and he was smashing with it. And when he was playing the Necrons, he was good at pushing differentials and smashing people with the Necrons, and he was good at that with CSM, and it seemed to be a perfect fit as one of our 8 armies. and we chose not to take the Necrons, and there was a choice of putting the Necrons onto another player potentially if they made R8. But he was super comfortable with CSM and found some great tech pieces in there with like doing the Nurgle, the Undivided, and try like with different Obliterator squads or the different like Forge Fiends, bringing the Forge Fiends out of reserves and stuff like that. Abaddon deep striking down, doing his full rerolls tech and everything. And he was really good at that. He smashed it.
Yeah, so absolutely.
He found it himself, basically. There's a lot of things where players have found, like Nassim said with Alex, he found the guard himself because he was testing it the most and could communicate us what he thought the army does, and then obviously bounce the ideas off us and then play through TTS and through testing that land with that player a lot more comfortably.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, so Nassim, we've got Josh with his Custodes.
Yes. So Custodes, strong, just strong. Like if anybody who's like watched like the last stream of War Games Live with Chris Victor from Team Poland, Custodes are just strong. They're just very good, very durable. I personally think they are the third or fourth strongest army in the game currently. They're just pretty much the only army that really does cross combat, and they do it really well. They are very durable. They have some of the best stratagems in the game with making something sticky, and great rules for advancing charge, and like everything else that they come in. And it's just a very versatile army that can be really punishing. And if your opponent can't stat check you, just run them over. Josh is, I mean, again, if Josh played the most of WTC, he understands that an army with that much versatility is probably, he knows it'll be very good in his hands. Because I was actually, it was either going to be me or Josh that plays Custodes. But I think at one point people were like, wait, Nassim not on a fast moving gun line, what's going on? I think they put that up as like, hey, the team's not on like something that moves really quickly and shoots guns. Like, are we sure we want him on Custodes? And I was like, you know what, fair point. No, but I think Josh played the army, better than I ever could, for sure. And like he had that flexibility with the Custodes. Like in some key rounds, was able to push those differentials when we needed it as well. So I think that could just really suited Josh. And then maybe Manny as well. But Manny was going to be on the Eldar, so it didn't make sense for Manny to practice the Custodes. I know Manny loves the Custodes as well. But it just made sense for Josh to be on the Custodes.
Yeah, solid pick, and it's a good archetype for him to play as well because he likes those sorts of lists. So then I just, if you guys are watching this and I call your name out, I'm sorry I'm rushing through your list. I just don't want to take the entire episode up with everyone's list. But we finish off with Manny on Eldar. The boys spoke about it before. Like if you need someone to go just smash face and get the big point differential, Manny's the one. So that's why Manny has that. Very good list. Like it's just full of tools everywhere. It's got the Wraith Guard. It's got the double Wraith Knight. So if you need him to go table someone, he's got the tools. Then next we've got Matt Robinson. So I was quite happy to see Tyranids make the cut, and I personally thought Necrons would probably make the cut more so than Nids, but when I saw him playing on stream, I thought he did an absolutely amazing job. And I can't remember. I think it was Jack Harpster he was versus with his Grey Knights, and that was an insane game. And he really just showed mastery of just being patient, scoring, and just being a constant threat. And it just shows you how damaging the Nids can be, because when that Paladin blob were in the middle, I was like, cool, that's game over. And then clicks his fingers, they're dead. So people, you've got to watch out for Nids, especially if people are going to be copying Matt's build. So I really like that. I really like the archetype. It's basically like loads of termagants, load of gargoyles, Hive Tyrant. And then he's got some Biovores, some extra crimes, and then just a load of psychic nonsense in there.
It was made as a GSC counter.
Was it?
Took it. We took it because it was either that or we were thinking like Necrons Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights were actually in R8 at one point, and then we went with the NIDS because it had a better matrix into GSC, and we expected GSC to smash face more than they actually did at WTC, but they were there, and because of all the gargoyles and you can stick the mouse scepters at front, the GSC can't kill them.
Those mouse
scepters as screens can't kill them. Like you just screen out with with big bugs, and they all the CPs and all the strats, and they can't. Like they run out of assets.
Like it would just take too many resources to kill it. It was inefficient for the GSC.
Yeah,
like the GSC would still score, but like it wasn't
a good matchup for them.
And that's what we got from testing that.
Yeah, fair enough. That's why you spend so long testing these armies, because you need to find the counter. Because when everyone's shouting and screaming, "Oh, Gene Silicon, they're so broken, you need to be like, well, what can we do against it? So then
can't put knights into it.
No, you can't. Speaking of GSC, obviously you guys took GSC, and Mike Porter was in GSC. He loves his tech pieces. He was playing Harlequins for a long time last season, and GSC just towards the end of the night. So he's perfect to pilot this list. Full of tricks, full of characters, and it's just disgusting. And it is exactly what you want out of a GSC list. So, like I said before, everyone's kicking and screaming that they're amazing. They are. So they're exactly what you need as a toolkit army. Then we come to Uniseam. You've gone through yours, but Jack, why is Nassim on Deathwatch?
We couldn't find an army for him really. It was just like scraping the bottom of the barrel at the end of what can we put him on? He's tried GSC. No, Mike's got that. Custodes. No, Josh is better than him on that. So we're just like, he'll do it right at Deathwatch. No one else wants to play it. But no, Nassim has experience in playing with Marines as well, and going to ATC and stuff, and putting the amount of reps Nassim put in before the tournament. You played on a number of different armies and stuff, and you got enough experience with around the clock to realize what Deathwatch can do. We spoke about Deathwatch early on for maybe Alex to run it, and Nassim was very vocal in how that army plays, and we played a lot of test games into it when he was running other different armies and stuff like that. So he actually has a lot of experience and knowledge in that short amount of time that 10th came out, of speaking about and knowing the stats and stuff of Deathwatch, even if it didn't take Proteus Kill Team. But
the P word. The P word. The PTSD. No.
But he has a lot of experience playing into it and speaking of it when we were actually trying to put it to other players on the team. And I think he was perfect for running that in the end. It was also a bit, I think, different for you, I think, Nassim, you say, because it's not really a smash list army. It's a different play style. I think the WTC is different to how you're used to games going anyway. You're used to being put on a smash army. Like if we put you on Eldar, you would have smash face like Manny did. You would have been able to get high differentials and stuff. So it was very very different for you to start playing, especially like getting 7 points into Eldar right at one point and trying to play for points and do all this stuff, and playing for 8 points into Sean Naden's mass Tyrannid list and stuff like that, was a credit to how you played it. I think you played it really well, and I don't think anyone really knew the Marines as well as you did going on the team.
High praise.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think you played that really well because it's different to how you normally play Warhammer, right? Trying to play that way, and I think going into the tournament, you're a little bit bummed that you was on a list like that, but you smashed it with it, I think, in the games.
Yeah. So just before we go into the games, and we'll go for the next bit, we're going to keep the answers very short, just because we've got 7 rounds to go through. So let's see, if you couldn't have chosen Deathwatch and all the other armies were taken as they are and as they were submitted, what army would you have taken other than Deathwatch?
Other than Deathwatch, what armies are left, really?
Death Guard.
Oh God, yeah, the Death Guard. No. You fair probably. So Orcs was one that I had tested and actually had quite liked. So it probably would have been between Orcs. I played a few nights, but new nights wasn't going to be great. So probably either between Orcs or it's tough. It probably would have been Orcs.
But there you go.
Yeah, probably would have been Orcs. And been a list quite similar to what the US ran, probably with less transport, probably because I had 6 in mine, and I had like the knobs for the smash.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been Orcs. Was there any other? No, it's just really the
About
Orcs.
Tau. I mean, Poland
Yeah,
and
Tau.
Scotland took Tau in the end, but
yeah. I mean, I was thinking about Tau, but they had some problems that, like in the teams format, that like other armies would have done it better. Like Chaos Knights could have done their role probably just as good, if not better.
That's not very good.
Yeah, fucking dogs. But yeah, like it probably would have been Orcs, and like it would have suited the way that I would have had to play during WTC, because WTC I was just scrapping for points, I was fighting for points. Orcs would do that. I like you scrap for points in bad matchups, and in good matchups would green tide.
It's a hyper aggressive, super fun play style, right? With them.
Yeah, like, not enough guns, mate. Not enough guns.
Not enough guns.
Not enough action.
Orcs it is then. Fair enough. Right, so we're going into the meaty part of the episode now. So this is where we're going to go through the rounds matchups, and I'm going to go to Jack at like what they will be thinking of as coaches going into particular matchups, and what they're going to keep, what games they're going to keep an eye on, and then we're going to come to Nassim about a brief kind of like idea of how he approaches that sort of matchup. So round 1 was England versus Bulgaria, and it was a massive win for England with 126-34. So it's a good way to start the tournament off, and I'm sure you're all feeling pretty good after that. But the armies you had to face were Eldari, Genes to the Cult, Space Marines, Guard, Custodes, Chaos Space Marines, Imperial Knights, and Tau. So, Coach, what matchups are particularly difficult in that?
Always Eldar, and I think at that point we were also thinking GSE. There was the early doors trying to a lot of teams going into WTC scared of Eldar and GSE, but mostly it was denting the Eldar. Is always priority number 1, because if you can get a 20-0 with your Eldar and you can dent their Eldar, you're in good stead for the rest of the round, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's how you want to put it. You want to put a counter into them, and you want to get the best matchup for your Eldar.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because you had similar lists in sort of like their, like you both got Eldar, you both got Genes to Cult, both got Chaos Space Marines. So I'm assuming, Jack, that there was a few people who didn't want mirrors, because then it would skew the rest of the matchups.
Potentially they can flip depending on the build. I think there was a lot of different ones where Manny felt comfortable into some of the Eldar mirrors, depending on how many Wraith Knights they took. If they took Wraith Knights at all, he could feel more comfortable. There was the occasional list, I think France was the one where they had double Wraith Knight, where then that becomes a flip, right? Because there's 2 Wraith Knights versus 2 Wraith Knights. It's a little bit of a
just a dice game at that point.
No, exactly. Who gets to pop the first Wraith Knight? Who's got 2 to their 1 and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, you don't really want the GSC mirror. I think into some of the, you say lower nations like the C3, C4 teams, because they're more, and maybe C2 and because they're willing to take the risk on the GSE matchup. It could, like, there was one game, I think the German game, where it was over in 20 minutes because both players deployed their whole armies off the board. One player went first and went, okay, I'm going to put my whole army there when I drop turn, and now you can't drop in because I'm all over the board. And it was over in 20 minutes, 20-0. Or both players can play defensively and go for 10-10 draws and go for super. But why would a nation going in that thinks they're the underdog go for that when they go, you know what, we're going to go for the flip? Because that's going to screw your entire round if we get it our way and we get like a 20-0. So the GSC mirror is not something you want, I don't think, especially in the pod.
Yeah, especially in the pod.
In the later rounds, people play it more defensively, I think.
Yeah. So we had big wins from Matt Robinson, Alex Harrison, Mike Porter, Vic, and Manny, and finally you, Nassim. How was your matchup with Adeptus Astartes? Were you happy with that?
Yeah, so I was happy going into it, and then the turn one happened, and I was terrified. So just to give you a brief, so like in my matrix that I had that, I was like, I get like a solid win out of it, like 14, 15 points, and then I got told off by Chewie a little bit for it afterwards. It was like then he went first, and then he, like, with one of his Vengals, just killed, like, I think it was 6 of my Desolators.
Oh,
And then
yes.
I remember them walking past. I just give them the side eye. They just looked at me, and I was still just like, "Is there still there?" I was like, "Just come back to me after I've had my 10-1 or 2."
Yeah. Oh,
um,
Jesus.
but yeah, so but luckily we would just the way I had designed my list, I was like, I'm able to sit on those mid-board objectives better than he could. So I was like, all right, cool. Indirect battle, I am going to 100% lose. Um, let's try to pick away at his screening stuff, which is the infiltrators,
Yeah.
and the scouts, but mainly the infiltrators. So I was like, so turn one, I just key teleport, hellblasters, covering 2 objectives and treating the infiltrators, picked up the infiltrators, and then next turn he draws like cleanse and like the pro teleport home, and then he realized as he was moving, he's like, shit. I was like, yes.
Yes.
Like, kill my hell blasters. He's like, I'm gonna move him, cleanse him. Like, okay. He's like, do you want Overwatch? I'm like, no. So he's like, yeah. He looked at me. He's like, over there. He's like, do Overwatch? I'm like, no. And because he had oath them, and he was thinking, he's like, crap. And I was like, yes. So he had to kill them. Otherwise, like, next turn he just teleport again, and they do just as much damage. So I managed to he got a 0 on cleanse because I managed to kill the was it called stuff. Again, in his turn, take away more layers of screens. And like I think, but when I finished my turn one, I had killed, I think it was like 8 infiltrators, and like scouts, and then the following turn, like going into turn two, he had finished off my desolators. I was like, great, I've got no desolators. He has 15, whatever. And then, but I was able to kill all of the remaining, like
The
all of
scoring.
his, like the scoring, the mid-board scoring.
Yeah.
And in my turn two, I killed all of his desolators, with like just teleporting behind him. I was like, cool. Here's an Inceptor squad. And his 20 veterans. I'm not gonna play around. Just want to pick you up.
Yeah.
So I managed to pick him up, and then he had Gilliman and like a Redemptor, which is, if people know Deathwatch, -1 damage and a 2-up save is the bane of their existence. It's like, I was like, oh my god. But yeah, but being in the game, I think he just had Gilliman, and because it was the mission where the objectives disappear, I just sat on that one at the end, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna get this. So that's already 3 brackets up. You're not gonna get it. And yeah, that's pretty much just brief on sort of how the game was.
That's the game plan, isn't it? You just if you can't win the indirect battle, you just take away all of his tools for him to actually score and stay in the mission. You can kill all you want, but if you can't play the mission, can't score, there's no point even doing it. So really, really good IQ there, and you got an 18-2, which is amazing. So you managed to really put your foot on his neck there. So round 2. That was Romania, and again, massive win, 111 to 49, and there was a lot of big wins throughout this, and the armies you were against was again Astartes, Custodes, Eldari, Knights this time, Thousand Sons, another Chaos Space Marines, Necrons, which is new, and then Custodes. So Jack, any of these apart from the normal sort of Eldar and Genius Cult that you were worried about?
Got the Thousand Sons in there, which is Magnus, Mutalith, 10 Terminators. It's our first time going against the Thousand Sons list into that one. Can't quite remember who had that matchup, if you can see that on yours. But it was running against the 10 Terminators. Can you see that?
Matt, yeah.
Matt played into that. So that was the first time playing into Thousand Sons. A lot of the other ones are ones we kind of expected: the GSC, Custodes, Necrons, Super Jury. I think maybe Alex went into that one. Maybe not. Eldar and Marines. I think a lot of the 8 armies were the first 6 were pretty the same, and then you find differences in the last 6, 7, 8 in the armies, and that's where you've got the Thousand Sons and the Imperial Knights, and that come into that bracket against these guys.
Yeah, Yeah.
But I think we felt confident coming out of the pairings. We were, I think, looking at around the low 90s. So obviously able to push differentials and get that extra 20 points in the end was really good for our guys.
Yeah, yeah. And sadly, Nassim, you were put into the boogeyman, weren't you, Eldar? How did you find that? Be
I am
brief.
the bus. I am
He
the
is
bus.
the,
mate.
yeah, he is the bus. You can't throw him under the bus.
Yeah. I literally, because she was telling me, "Nah, you're gonna have to like, we have to bust you here." And I just looked at him. I was just like, great, okay.
How many points did you get? You got 7 points. Did you?
I got 7, and
So
then
I'm looking at the matrix and it says you're due 6 points. So he smashed his matrix.
Yeah.
Got 1 extra point on his matrix.
It was really funny because going into my I think because he had gone first, and going into my turn 2, I didn't have desolators again. So he it was no ideal. So it
Oh,
was
short deployment zones, so you could real close to each other. 3D cannons and a night spinner.
yeah, that was fun.
Picks them up.
Yeah. But it was like he went first, turn 1, and I was just like, oh, cool, I'm gonna teleport here and screen this out. And then in my head, I was like, you know what? I've got a 9-inch charge into this Wraith Guard, and I've got veterans with hammers here. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I've got sustain. I'm gonna do it. Make the charge. I roll a 12. I'm like, hey, I kill 5 Wraith Guard, keep them locked in combat, so they don't push out for pretty much the rest of the game. I was like, great. Then he comes in, kills me off, and I think when he finishes his turn 2, I think it was like 30. I had like 13, 14 veterans left alive. The infiltrators and 2 interceptor squads off the board and 2 speeders off the board. That's all I had. So I was going into my turn 2. I was like, oh, this is not ideal. And the econ was in my backfield objective.
It was in the back.
Like,
I remember cooking over and I was like, Incarn's on your backfield objective. Like,
It's-
where's your stuff? Where's your desolators gone? I was like, oh, they're not there anymore. I was like, okay.
I was like dead. I was like dead. And then I'm like, all right, cool. I've got a charge into the Incon. I'm gonna oath her. I'm gonna put this gun to sustained. I make it in with like all my hammers, all that stuff. She was already on 10 wounds. I was like, cool. We're gonna take her down. I'll do 1 damage. And I'm like, well, this might go to like a 1 or 2 points. But then I really started just scrounging and just scrounging for points. So I was like, cool. Captain's alive. He's gonna teleport himself over there. Get me behind him. I put teleport homers. He's gonna get me 9 points. Like these infiltrators are gonna bring an objective here out of 12. So I'm gonna make sure if you phantasm, even if you move, you can't get in range to shoot him. It's like, yep, that's fine, perfect. They're gonna go there, get another objective. I'm gonna get 15 primary here. I'm gonna deny your primary. I'm gonna give you a 10 rather than a 15. I was just going all out. I think one of the coaches came over and he was thinking, he was like, "There's he's still on track for your metrics." I'm like, I'm fine, it's fine. To be fair, if I was in that perspective, I would not have believed me either. It was like 6 points, maybe like 2, mate. Oh, that was terrifying. Never want to play Zelda again.
No, never wanted.
Yeah, I'll be the other player now. It's fine. Watch
Yeah. So that was the first 2 games, and Team England big wins. So just remind me, is it the first 3 games that are in your pod, and then whoever wins gets out?
Yeah. So
you all get out.
Yeah. So you all get out of the pod. So there's 3 games in your pod. Essentially, after that, it's like the winners play against the winners. It kind of goes up from there, and the losers play against the losers, and then you can have your chance to like go back up a little bit.
Get some redemption, yeah.
You play teams that are equal on your points, so you get 1 point for a draw and 2 points for a win. So if you get the end of the pod and you're on 6 points because you've got 3 wins, you'll play other teams that have got 6 points, and you'll end up placing into teams that are on your level, basically.
Yeah, and boy, did you guys play someone on your level. So coming out of the pod, round 4, you had Australia. What was the mindset going into the coach?
Austria.
Well, there we go.
But you did miss Spain as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Okay. No.
Yeah, so
we did have Austria.
Yeah. How was that? What was the game plan into these boys?
They were very good. They had the 2 brothers. I'm not going to try and pronounce their surname.
The Woback.
They are Woback brothers. Yeah, they're very good. Very good players.
Sorry players, yeah.
And
the
one War Masters.
and he won War Masters. Yeah, before that.
Jeez, yeah.
So there were a couple red matchups. That Eldari player, that Eldar list. But we had a really good result out of that game. We managed to get, I think, Josh into demons in that one, which on our matrix shows as about 13, 14 points. And then halfway through the game, the demon player turns to me as I'm watching the game and goes, "Do you know how a gambit works?" And I was like, "I don't know how a gambit works. Do you know how a gambit works?" To Josh, and he's like, everyone's just looking. We're going, "Should we get a ref over?" And it's like, they don't know how a gambit works. So we're all sitting there for about 15 minutes looking over. And at this point, I've fed the information to the coaches and to the other players and going, we're in a good position. Josh's player is looking to take a gambit. Like, he's in a good position here. He's managed to get board control, kill a lot of the monsters, kill Shalaxi and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's looking at a good position. He ends up not taking the gambit, but it was just a funny thing where we looked at us and the coaches started chatting and we go, we just drew to Spain where we got 2 zeros. One of them games was a 0 from turn 1. Why did we not even think about taking a gambit? It didn't even cross our minds. Didn't even cross our mind going, you know what, we could take a gambit. It's one of them things at the beginning attempt you just go, I'm never taking that. But actually, if you get a really bad matchup and you're on 0 points and you know it from turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and go, I can't physically get any more points. Let's just give this a go.
Oh, I love that.
And we could have done, and we were like, actually, maybe we could have done it on one of their matches because we only drew the game by 3 points. We only needed 3 points to win the round. So then these guys went and they chose not to do the gambit. We had a really good matchup with Vic into Eldar. On our matrix, we had it down as a 12, as a high draw. And then he ended up smashing it and getting a 14, I believe, out of that. And also playing the Eldar player who's just won the War Masters as well. I think a lot of teams turned around and was just like, damn, like, yeah, like, so Vic was like, that's, how did you do that? There are a lot of questions online straight off Discord and that going, how did you do that?
And his answer, I got lucky.
He had a double, and there's Nassim telling him about double Doombolt, right?
So, yeah, I did.
So
like, you never
double Doombolt. So we're always, me and Vic were talking about, oh yeah, you can always do this. You've got the double temporal surge that you can do in your shooting phase, and we're talking about moving Magnus 48 inches and a lot of stuff, getting around the back of people and doing this. And Nassim going, why are you using movement? Why don't you just double Doombolt someone, right? Why don't you just double Doombolt? You don't need to move. Like, don't need to do movement shenanigans. And then Vic does a double Doombolt turn 1. I look over on the table and there's a 5 next to the Wraith Knight. I asked both of them, I said, has he taken 5 wounds or does he have 5 left? And what are you counting up or down? He goes, oh, he's got 5 wounds left. And I was like, oh my God. And it's turn 1. I was like, oh my God. I just walked away from the table like, oh, this is so good. And then I watched the Incarn round, and the Incarn's on 1 wound hanging around. I'm like, if the Incarn moves, he's just going to Overwatch and kill it. And then the Wraith Knight's dead as well, and the Wraith Knight died. And then, like, Magnus was off the board as well, so he couldn't kill Magnus. Magnus come down. He phantasms behind a building. Magnus then double moves, sees him, shoots him, kills the Wraith Knight, then kills the Incarn next turn. And it was like, and then there's just not enough things now for the Eldar player to dish out damage. He's got a couple fire prisms and a D-cannon at the back and some rangers and stuff. But the big hitters, the Wraith Knight and the Incarn dying in the first few turns was really big in that matchup. And yeah, got lucky with the double Doombolt, did mass wounds. Like, averagely it should have done 10 wounds. I think it did 13 in the end or something like that, which, you know, it's just over average. But yeah, Nassim pushing the double Doombolt rhetoric, like that's
because
Nassim
was like,
no.
No, because I remember Victor was like, no, you never double Doombolt. Now you double surge and single Doombolt. And I was like, just double Doombolt. Just you want all the wounds. Just kill him. And it worked.
I love it. It was a tight round for you guys as well, because
super tight. They were a very good team. Very good team.
Because Nassim won, Chris won, Josh won, but then also Matt lost, Alex lost, and you got a draw with the Gene Stealer cult and a draw with Manny, and so Vic with the win as well. So 87-73. Oh, that is close.
Yeah, I mean the round before that we just drawn by 3 points, and that one we just won by 2 points. So super close rounds, just back to back. Yeah, against 2 very good teams. Very good team.
Very good teams. all of these teams do deserve a full hour each talking about all the matchups and everything like that, but simply time is not on our side. So we're just going to whiz through the last last three
rounds.
So
France.
you drew France,
Yep.
notorious for in WTC. They come over for the LGT as well. So that was a 90-70. Let's start. So Nassim, is this a team you were looking out for during when you were getting the pairings?
What do you mean by that?
Like, are they a team that you're worried about?
Yeah, 100%. The thing is, we gave every single team, even like the one when you think back in hindsight, that we smashed Romania, Bulgaria, we gave every single one of them. The way our matrix was done is that if we play every single one of these players, they are just as good, if not better than us.
Yeah, because they're gonna get wins. They're gonna get wins.
Yeah. It's like. So like and with France, it's like historically they always have lovely rounds with the French, and like our round with France was great. It was lovely as well. But yeah, it's definitely a team like to be on the lookout for. When I drew Custodians, I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I can get like this winning side of a draw out of this. Oh wait, it's now gonna flip the other way because like I can't get him off that primary because of it's like there's the vital ground one where there's two objectives. I'm like, cool. I managed to hold that. Then it gets me off. I can't get him off those two. And it's like, and then I just drew, and then at the end of the game, I drew 2 duds for the last turn, which meant it was a 9-11 rather than an 11-9, which was I was like, you know what, happens, card happens. But yeah, no, it was a great game, lovely game, love the French.
Really nice guys.
Yeah.
I think going into that round, we had a huddle before every round, and some of the coaches, like Tony said, is like historically we've always had really good games with the French. If you player on player wants to be more lenient, give a couple takebacks, they're going to do the same with you. They're going to be really nice. Like whatever you give, they're going to return. Like it's not going to be a hard nosed game. If like you don't have to like be super like gamey. They're going to be on it. They're going to be good. Whether they had the equal amount of coaches to us, I think that was the first round where we had an equal amount of coaches. They had their own chef and stuff like that. 2 streams where 3,000 people were watching, and the coaches were lovely as well. We had a little chat with a couple of them as the rounds were starting. Got a little bit of coaching etiquette about they had previous rounds where other teams' coaches had been interfering with the players' tables and stuff like that, and they communicated that with us, and we said, you know what, that's fine. We'll back away from that. We'll talk to you. Every time we were talking to a player, we'd call one of their coaches over so that they can hear what we're talking about. Yeah. We just had a really nice game, a really nice round. And they were very open from the start, going, we've come out the pairings thinking we're on the lower side of a draw at the moment. We were on the higher side of a draw, and and it started swinging, and you could see they got a few swings in their way, and we were like, like towards the end, and we felt like we were just on that upper 80s all the way till the end, swung all the way down. We're like, we could really draw this, or we could go even lower.
Alex was a hero here.
Alex is a hero, got into Eldar, and it's a red on his matrix, and managed to pull 10 points when he's 2-3.
With him, it was just gradually going up. It was from 1 to 0 to 2 to 3 to 5, and it was like 5. Alex, you're hero. 6, 7. It was like, I was like, guys, I got 10. I was like, what?
10, yeah. Killed a Wraith Knight turn 1, and he went against double Wraith Knight, and he went second as well.
Yeah, it was like,
and he went second. We said, Alex hasn't gone second. Alex hasn't gone first, so we lose a 0. It's a 0 anyway, and he goes and brings 10 points back. So he was a hero in that round. Really good smashing on that. But that was a lovely round against French. Nice. Really good guys, really good organisation.
Wow, that's good. It's nice to I like hearing all these little stories, because every round has something that goes on. So that's great. And then you probably pulled the most famous on the YouTube circuit round. This is kind of the battle of the YouTube channels. This is, but you have Art of War, aka USA.
There's only 3 of them that are on Art of War, I believe now. It's toned down, and we've got 1, so it's like
yeah.
But we pulled the USA, and this was in the morning. This was the last morning, so we knew about this the night before. So we had plenty of time to practice pair into this, which we stayed up most of the night to do. Early morning, next morning as well. So 8 o'clock start. So we were up at 6, go into the venue. Again, really close round. I think we came out thinking we were around 82 out of the parents, and then we ended up pushing that to 84, which is 2 points short of a win, which is disappointing. I think there was spots where we could have swung it and got them extra 2 points, but also on the other side, maybe
wasn't it?
Yeah, there's 10-10 there, but there's other spots, right, where maybe we got more points than what we were due on our matrix as well. So actually it goes both ways. Where we could have swung up a couple points, we could have swung down a couple points easy, because very good guys, very good players, obviously. A lot of them household names, who they are and stuff as well.
Great players.
Matt and Jack had a great game, but we'd been out with them a couple of nights before as well, so we're like, a lot of people were mates within the teams and stuff as well. And again, it was just a really nice round with them. Coaches on coaches was really nice. We didn't have any issues. I think Naz and Sean kind of stayed in their bubble most of the game.
No one was allowed in.
No, I don't think so. I think a couple of coaches from the US went over just to ask, because Sean was captain, for his advice on other games, like how other players should push. But other than that, they were kind of like, and you guys had a good game. Like, you guys looked like you had a good game, but you also didn't want it to be disturbed. So it was super tense round, super tight, and to come out at the end and get 84 points, I think we were just like, we're so close, like so close, 2 points away from being able to shout US Meta Soft.
Oh man,
we have to just glorious. It's just the memes are just there, but
still gonna do it. Still gonna do
it. Well, by the points you win, but it is a draw, sadly. But no, it's great showing, and I think I hope for future to come there is like a soft rivalry between the US and the England, because it's quite a fun thing, because they are some seriously good players in both teams, and like Jack with his grey lights is no joke. He knows all the movements, he's got all of the tricks there, and like having Orcs in there is a bit of a wild card as well, because
Lucas, very good Orc player,
very
player as well.
So well done on the round. And the final day, the final round, the final game, we get Poland. What do we think of this matchup going into the last round?
We went into this round knowing that because we drew against the US, we have to beat Poland to become world champions. That's it. The US, if they beat Sweden, it then goes on a points differential to see if we have more points, and because we scored more points than them in the last round, potentially we can sneak above them. Exactly. It's super close though. The points were super close, but we have to beat Poland to win. If we draw against Poland, we probably come third. And I think we came out of the pairings again on that one, looking at around the 80s, maybe a tiny bit lower. And then they played really well. Like they smashed it. They smashed it. I think they smashed a lot of matchups early on. I think we had underestimated Skark with guard. Skark was killing.
Murdering people.
He was murdering people.
He was literally murdering.
And he got to the table. He got to the table going, "This is not a good matchup for you." Like to Josh, and just put them artillery and just
showed him
good luck.
And he's an ETC veteran of just being able to come back with all the young guys that they've got there, and then winning their first WTC, their first team championship. And having the experience of him and having Typhus around in the background, obviously testing and coaching with them beforehand, coming back, them guys that have won the ETC before back in 2016 or whatever it was, their last time that they won it, and now winning it again with all the young guys and them experiencing it, like a team of very good players. And yeah, they deserved it. I think they smashed us. They smashed us, and they deserved 100%. It. And you had a really good game. The round was already lost. I come over to Nassim and disable, and I congratulate Pumba. I said congratulations and stuff like that. And it seems like we're still playing. Like I need to play. I need to beat him for pride. And half an hour's gone after all the other games are going, and it seems going right. I'm going to spend 1 CP sustained hits. I'm going to over moment this unit. I'm going to drop these in here. Oh, okay, CP reroll over here. Like here, just rolling dice at 2 million miles an hour. Pumba's going, okay, I'm going to use a Cabal ritual reroll here on this squad here, and they're just doing this. They're playing like to the teeth, just like on a pride basis.
Oh, I love that.
Just cracking up. They're both just cracking up the whole game, just having the best time. Like all the other games, I feel like were like quite tense. People were having a good time and stuff like that, but these two were just cracking up the whole game and just like happy to be like playing each other.
It was great.
It looked like a game.
No, it was great because we're both mates anyways, and we're both paired up. Because I literally looked at him, I was like, "I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna murder you." It's like I'm gonna murder you. I was like, and then after his turn one, I was like, "Okay, yeah." And after my turn, I was like, "I'm about to kill so much stuff." And then I looked at it, I was like, then like it is shooting phase. I was like, you remember when you said you're gonna kill so much stuff? You were right, but now I'm gonna kill so much stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's like it was great. Like my Desolate squad, because I put my Desolates in reserves. They came in, shot all of the guns into a squad of rubrics, put off the board. Iron Man squad came out with my Overwatch. I killed 7 rubrics.
Yeah, so that they come out.
I was like, I'm going down with a fight here. I was like, I'm going down with a fight. But Magnus roamed free. Magnus was pretty much in my DC. He owned that.
He was doing whatever he wanted that game.
Yeah, I was like, you can do what you want. It's like, I'm going to switch off saves with Iron Man. I was like, cool, I'm going to Overwatch. It's like, cool. Here's my super cracks, 9 shots, 8 hits because I had sustained. I was like, let's go. His face dropped and he saw that. I was like, yep, roll. I was like, only 3 wounds. And then the direct kills another, was it 3 to 4? He was just like, what's going on? I was like, I'm going to scam you with dice.
I think just that match we had a couple zeros in there and stuff like that, and they happened quite early on, and it just snowballed, I think, out of our control a little bit, where we were asking people to push. It just wouldn't have mattered in the end. We were then halfway through the round pushing to fight for a draw. I think we were looking at the points and we were looking, right, maybe we can push up to 74, then push up to 75. We can squeak a draw because we were losing some games really badly. And it just didn't work out. And where we were trying to push, we obviously lost points, and then we ended up scoring at like 60 or so. So they ended up getting a bigger points differential on us, and that made us slip down to 5th in the end because of that.
Yeah.
But really, we were pushing for the podiums. At halfway through the round, we're going, we need to draw it to get the 3rd, and then originally we were like, we need to win it to get 1st. And I think to be in that position where
it's huge.
We got 5th this year, and they got 5th last year. But last year they were already in 8th or 9th playing for 5th. This year we were in 4th and 5th playing for 1st, like in the final rounds, and we were playing for 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We were up there. We were super close, I think, to doing it, and I think that we were disappointed to lose that and to draw into US as well. And I think we felt a bit deflated after that. But actually, I think we can look back and go, actually, maybe if we changed such and such and did this, and we put more prep into such and such here and there because we missed this army or whatever, or we missed this, next year we can come and get it because we were this close. And we feel like, you kind of question, you go, where did we go wrong? Where did we not put enough effort into? Where did we blah blah do this? What can we do differently? And I think we've got a meeting this week to discuss to go through that, just in a like constructive setting, and to see how do we reset for next year. And because I think have the hunger now. We've got 3 guys that have been to their first year of WTC. We had 3, maybe 4 coaches that went to their first WTC as well, and everyone's like, I love it. Like there's nothing like it. Like there's honestly you can't describe it. I think Adam said this. He said, how do you find it? And I said, I can't describe it unless he goes, you can't describe it to someone that hasn't been and experienced it, because it's just you walk in and it feels like you're in a separate community to the Warhammer community, but it's not cliquey or anything like that. Like it's not like you see people that you've seen on YouTube, or who their top players and stuff are, and you can just have down to earth conversations with everyone. Everyone's an equal there, whether you're a coach or whether you're a player. I think like everyone's treated as an equal. Everyone's opinion's valid. Everyone can speak their mind. You can go out for drinks with anyone, just swap your jersey with everyone or whatever. Like you can just it's just such a nice way to play 40k that I just like, why would I want to play singles again when I can play socially and play teams all the time? Like, I come out
100%.
going, why do I want to go and play singles and go and get smashed by Eldar? Like, when I can just go and play teams all the time. Like, we came out of this and goes, who wants to go to a teams event in 3 weeks in Amsterdam? It's like, yes. Who wants to go to the week after in Wales? Yes. Like, yes, let's go and do this. Let's go and do this. Like,
it's like
why not? Like, yeah, it's like a drug. I want to play team. I want to coach teams like all the time. After that,
that's good.
I want to be back
That's
next
how it
year.
should be. It's how it should be. Yeah. Well, you know what? You guys did such a good job, and I'm watching you guys all the time anyway. But it's so nice to see that you were just so nearly there. It's a shame you don't, you know, when you lose that final game, you don't come second or third. Like, it's annoying that it, like, when you play for a win, you don't, you know, come second. But you know, maybe that will change, but maybe not. But you'll be back next year, and you'll be bringing it home next year. And I've got no doubt it, because everyone grows from this, and there's so many team events that are coming around, and like especially with Zach and his UKTC events, like he does the ITT every year, and then there's more popping up all the time. So I'm sure you're probably going to be flying guys over to play the WTC all the time. So, thanks for the rundown, guys. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for telling everyone about this amazing experience that you guys went through. Coach and player, both opinions are like very interesting to hear, just from a viewer perspective like myself. And you know what? That's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. Right, so you can go on Facebook and follow the Team England. They have a Facebook group, and then you've also got, if you want to follow Nassim's team, War Masters, that's his ITC team, and you know you'll see them popping about all the time. And then you got the best team, Mind Goblins, that's Jack's team, and you'll see us with our beautiful purple jerseys all around. So I've got just a couple of shout outs. So you got Darkfire Cafe, which is a new gaming cafe, a bit like Darksphere, a bit like Bad Moon, which has just popped up, and it's in St Albans. They do monthly RTTs, and that you can get all your gaming goods from there. And if you're in Hertfordshire, come down and play. There's always good players around. And then we've got the East Anglia Major that's going on in 2 weekends' time. So if you haven't got your ticket for that, go grab that. It is the same weekend as Goonhammer, but you know you want to give these new guys some love, so go there. I know 6++ are going there, and a few of other people on the podcast scene. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's been great having you on, and well, maybe we'll get you on for another one soon. All right, bye.